Hello, this is Joyce Chow for MBN and News Video Web, and we're sitting here with a friend of mine, Michael Dean Shelton, who is a philanthropist here in the Southern California area, and we're getting ready for the Smile Gala, for Operation Smile. But Michael, you work with a lot of charities, and there's a lot of charities that approach you asking for your assistance. So one of the things I'm always curious about is, how do you select a charity?
Well, you know, first and foremost, I think the important thing is that you need to identify areas that you feel passionate about. For example, for me, I really focus on children, the environment, animals, and equality issues.
Okay.
And so, and when I say equality, that means gay and women issues as well. I kind of group those all together. So, so first I look to see if it's a reflection of what my values are. Okay. I think that that's the first, most important thing for me. The second thing that's really important is, how do they spend their money?
Now, actually, that's a real important one, because a lot of times, especially during the holiday season or all year long, people want their dollars to count more.
Exactly, and I think that that's, you know, we have to be involved. We definitely have to be involved with that. You know, as a donor, because as you said, we want to make sure that that dollar, our hard-earned money, is going as far as possible. There's a great website that I use called charitynavigator.org, and you type in the name of the charity, and this organization does independent studies. So they go into the charities.
You sure they're not associated with any of them?
No, they're not associated with any of them. And whenever they give out star ratings, it's a pretty big ordeal, and it can increase the financial contributions coming in. So, and they make sure that the charities are registered with the IRS. That's a very important one. You know, make sure that they have a tax ID number, because, you know, if you give money to an organization that does not have a tax ID number, you can't write it off. And so,
yeah, that could cause a few problems.
That could cause a few problems. So you go into Charity Navigator, type in the name of the charity, and then they have little pie graphs to talk about the charity, about the donations, about how they spend their money. Now, the government encourages 26.5 cents or less for administrative costs. Okay. Anything higher than that, I tell people no.
Now is that for you, is that a high barometer or is that a low barometer?
To me, that's too high.
Okay.
So I normally only associate with charities that spend 20 cents or less on administrative costs. Because, I mean, there's a lot of great charities that spend 10 cents. You know, we're not in this to get rich.
Actually, that's pretty low, isn't it, 10 cents?
Yeah, 10 to 15 cents, but, you know, it's just that they're very lean, and they know what they need to be done. I mean, you have volunteers do a lot of the work. You know, salaries are low, because, you know, once again, the people that work there shouldn't be doing it for money. That's my first, you know, that's what I firmly believe. So, you know, make sure that they have the 26.5 cents or lower. I really do encourage people not to give above that. And so, Charity Navigator is really great because they give them star ratings. And I also look at the star rating. If they're 2 stars, don't give. You know, I mean,
what does the star rating mean?
There's a number of factors that go into it. You know, they deal with financial contributions, how they meet their budgets, their staff turnover, how they spend the money. So there's all these different factors that go into it. So, you know, like I said, 2 ratings or below, 2 stars, I just don't give, because, you know, I want to make sure that, once again, my money counts. But it's pretty easy to, you know, to look at the site and figure it out. Now, they do not audit those charities that raise under $1 million. So a lot of those charities, you know, if there's a smaller charity, then it won't really count. But tax records or IRS records are open to the public. So call that charity, ask them to see their tax records, because those are public records. So so I look at that. And then the other thing I really look at, which I kind of sometimes get into a little trouble with, and so, but I encourage people. Does their mission reflect? Does their fundraising events reflect the true mission of their nonprofit? Let me give you a couple.
That makes a lot of sense, though.
Yeah. So let me give you a couple of examples. In LA, there was recently a children's charity that threw an adult-themed pool party sponsored by a vodka company. Now, this is a children's charity. Does that really reflect a charity? Truly, you need to look at that, because, I mean, whenever you have a charity function, you should see the things that you're there to raise money for. In the sense, like, if this is a children's charity, there needs to be children there. They can't be there if there's vodka served and half-naked people running around. You know, it just doesn't.
Oh, it really was an adult party.
Yeah, it really was an adult-themed pool party. And so you have to wonder, what they reflect.
But don't you think that, I mean, even if it's a children's charity, that adults can raise funds and donate it to the kids, or?
Right, but it shouldn't be sponsored then by the organization. It should be privately raised.
Privately raised, and then I see what
exactly.
You're talking
about. But and there was also another charity that focused on equality, for example, that held fundraisers that were for 21 and over. Now you have to ask yourself, when did inequality stop affecting people under the age of 21? And so. And I'm really harsh about it.
But there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, there's a lot of people. I mean, you're dealing with your personal finances, right? And you're giving it to organizations. There's a lot of people that wouldn't invest in companies that, I don't know, had young children, making clothes, or blood diamonds or something like that. So this isn't any different.
Right, and and I think that we have that responsibility, because once we start pulling back from those charities, and once they start hearing from us, you would hope that they would start changing their course of their fundraising. Because let's look at Operation Smile. There will be children present tonight, and so they do serve wine, for example, but that's okay. I mean, that's not hard liquor is a whole different story when there's children around.
But there's probably going to be children here that who've had their smiles changed, right?
Exactly.
Which it brings meaning to the evening.
Yeah, and you have to look at a charity when they do the charity events. Like, are there AIDS patients for AIDS people? AIDS charity. Are there actual patients that they've helped? Because donors want to see how their money is, being used. And the only way that they're able to see that is to hear the stories of the people that their money is going to help. And if that's from children, sometimes, especially when it comes to medical charities, it's sometimes hard to see the tangible effects.
Right, because you're developing in research.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, but you still want to see those people, like if it's cancer or AIDS, you still want to see those people that are participating in those lab studies or those research studies at the events. So, so I, kind of look at those sort of things. The other big thing for me is when I look at a website, is their phone number listed? Right. And is their address listed? And how quickly, when you call, do these people call you back or answer all your questions? Because like I said, if I give $5,000 to a charity, I want to be able to know that I can look at their website and or their materials and call them and ask them questions when I want, and they need to respond back to those. Because this arrogance sometimes that goes on with charities shouldn't exist, and because we're the ones that create the by actively being involved and by giving money. So there's a lot of charities that don't have that information listed. And so, once again, if they don't have that information listed, then I don't give. And so, and like I said, it's our responsibility. It doesn't matter if you're giving $1 or if you're giving $100,000. You need to look and make sure that your money is going for the right purposes. So,
one of the things that people always kind of, I won't say fall into the trap of, is they see all these things and they say, if you buy this, we help support this charity, right? But you have no idea how much of what you're, actually breast cancer awareness is coming up. It's like, by doing that, how much actually goes to help breast cancer? Would you be better off just sending money to the Breast Cancer Society?
Yeah, well, I think that that's a twofold question. One, I have done some of that product marketing before. Like a few years ago for AIDS Research Alliance, we designed wine that was sold. I made sure on the back of the label it told you how much money went to AIDS Research Alliance. I think it was like $1.25 or $1.50. A lot of, like breast cancer, as you said, is coming up, and Susan B. Komen has the market on that. You see pink everywhere. And so it's all over the place. And I don't know how much of that information is written on there, but I think that you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Well, on the breast cancer, they're actually pretty strict on that, because I've spoken with people that wanted to do something for breast cancer, and there was a fixed percentage minimum that they had to. First of all, I think it had to be a special edition, and I don't even remember the percentage. I think it was like 25%. I mean, it was not, like 1%. Yeah.
And I think that the product marketing, which is a relatively new thing in nonprofit world, is a great idea, because let's just say you can't afford to give a $15 contribution, but you need a potato peeler. That Susan B. Komen has a pink one that is by a major, and so you can go and buy that. You're still donating to charity, but then you're getting something for your house, and so
and you're also showing other people that you help support that charity because you have something from it.
Exactly, and I
so
think
obvious.
yeah, and I think later on down the road when you're able to afford it and you see that pink candle on that thing, it's going to trigger your thing. You know, I should give money this season to, you know, Susan B. Komen, for example. And so I think that it's an ingenious marketing tool. And so, but like I said, I mean, sometimes you don't know how much that money goes. But I think the long-term effects on that is more positive for the nonprofit.
I think you're right on that.
So,
in fact, tonight what I wore was this little bracelet I picked up from a gifting suite.
Oh, yeah.
Remember Charity Charms,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
This one's for Operation Smile.
Oh, nice.
And, yeah, so the different charities, you know, they have their logo on here, and people can wear them for the events.
No, exactly, and yeah, and I think, like I said, I think it's a brilliant tool that they've done with that, and you know, I encourage people to do that because now we're seeing more and more companies lining up to do it. In fact, like Kentucky Fried Chicken in May had a $1 million or $4 million or $5 million challenge where they had pink buckets for Susan B. Komen.
Oh, that's great.
And so, you know, and just making sure you ask for those things. I mean, I'm very firm about that. You know, whenever I'm in a store, I'm more likely to buy a product that benefits a charity.
Do you know what? I am too.
Yeah, and so, and I think that's just important for people to realize, and it doesn't cost any more to do so.
Well, especially if it's the same price.
It's the same price. You know, a lot of these companies donate their costs to do that for that charity. So, and it's a win-win situation for everybody involved.